screen. Also, I'm audible, right? If you can hear me, just type yes in the chat. Okay, cool. And I hope you can see my screen. Okay, so what you guys saw in the teaser, a little teaser, what we showed you, हम ये website बनाने वाले हैं throughout this series, and it's probably going to be divided into 3 separate workshops. In the first workshop, I'm going to be targeting this navbar and this home section. And the tech stack that we're going to be using is simple, plain old vanilla HTML and CSS along with some Bootstrap. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think there's 37 people. Okay, also हम एक project based approach ले रहे हैं, तो you guys can also open your IDEs and code along with me, and then we'll take up questions later on the workshop, probably at the end. So, and I'll go through everything that you need to create the project. Okay, so let's get started. I'm actually going to use command prompt. It's one of the most powerful tools that you'll find on the computer. And I'm actually going to demonstrate something. Okay. So.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
ये मोबाइल पे हो सकता है?
I'm sorry.
क्या ये मोबाइल पे हो सकता है?
मोबाइल पे क्या हो सकता है?
मतलब ये वेबसाइट ओपन हो सकती है?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल हो सकती है।
कंप्यूटर की जरूरत हो?
नहीं, कोड करने के लिए you would need a computer क्योंकि एक आईडी चाहिए होता है। बट वेबसाइट देखने के लिए मोबाइल भी चलेगा।
ओके, थैंक यू।
Okay. Also, अगर कोई डाउट है आप लोगों को, then you can type it in the chat box, and then the whole CS team is present here. All of us can take any doubts. Okay, we'll get started. So, a brief, quick overview about the command line. What you see here is that these are like directories. So your computer would have a C drive, and inside the C drive, there's a users folder, and inside there's this folder. And I'm currently present on that folder. So what I want to do is I want to navigate onto the desktop because that's where I'll be making the project folder. So I'll just type in a simple command, cd, it's for change directory. And for me, it's located on my OneDrive inside the desktop. I'll do that. And also you can view all your directories inside your folder by just typing dir, and it shows that I have a desktop folder here. So I can just go to the desktop. Another simple command for making a folder is mkdir, which stands for make directory. And I'm just going to call it portfolio, my portfolio. And as soon as we go to the desktop, you should see I have a my portfolio folder over here, which I'm going to be opening in VS Code. So how I do that is I'm going to actually go inside my created folder. I'm going to type in code dot. It's going to take me to the VS Code over here. Okay. Cool. So we will right now create the project, and बीच में I will explain the flows or whatever things that are new, because I believe most of us has learned HTML in our school, right, in like 8th or 9th class. So for making the basic architecture of the project is, first of all, we're going to make a file. We're going to call it index.html, and this will be our starting point of our project. We're going to make another file and we're going to name it styles.css. And this is where our styling would be, which is done through CSS. And also I'm going to be making another folder. I'm going to call it images. And just give me a minute. I'll quickly import the images that I need. So आप लोग कहीं भी ऐड कर सकते हैं these images. I have these here right now, and whatever images you want to add, you can add it. Just simply right-click, reveal in File Explorer, and you should see something like this. Open it up and just move all your photos in here. Okay, cool. So let's get started. Now this simple command, this exclamation mark, is sort of like a boilerplate which VS Code offers. If I press enter, it'll throw me this base template, and this is pretty much the template that you're going to be using if you're writing HTML code all your life. This is the standard template. And I'll quickly recap what this template is all about. So we see something known as doc type HTML, which let us know that we're using the version 5 of HTML. So currently HTML5 is in fashion. So we're going to be using HTML5, of course. Then we have the head tag, which contains all these meta tags. They're not very useful, but they're basically defining the metadata that we need for the document. Then we have the title, which is going to be like what you see on the tab here. If I go here, you can see my portfolio written on it. I'll just open it up as well. So I save it and I go back. You already see there's document written over there. I'll just change it to something like my portfolio. And that should work. Now let's get on with what we need to create. Okay. Now, the first thing that we want to create, that is pretty much on every website that you visit, is the nav bar. The navigation bar, which lets you, go to any section that you want. And to create this, I'm not going to be coding anything, but I'm going to be using a free framework, which is actually known as Bootstrap. Now, Bootstrap is a framework that was developed by people at Twitter. And as you can see, it's a free framework for building fast websites. And the best example of actually getting started with these frameworks is their documentation. If you just click on get started, you'll be redirected to this page, which says that for a CSS, you have to copy and paste the style sheet. Actually, I'm going to come back later. Let's actually go to the nav bar that Bootstrap offers. So I'm going to go to Bootstrap nav bar. And we don't need any of this because we don't understand it. We will be tackling it later when we actually build something. And you see all this intimidating code that's written here. It's pretty lengthy, and you see a little preview of what this code would look like. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it in my IDE and I'll save it. Now let's check out how it looks like. It doesn't look it doesn't look anywhere near what it was showing here. That is because we don't have Bootstrap installed or being fetched in our document. So how Bootstrap works is, Bootstrap is a framework, right? And for a framework to work, you need to have it installed in the system, or तुम्हें उसको fetch करना पड़ेगा from the web, from the internet. So for that, we have something known as a CDN. CDN stands for a content delivery network. And this link that you see here is a file which exists on the internet, जिसमें सारी CSS है. And I'm going to be coming over what CSS is in a minute. I'll just copy this and I'll be pasting it inside my head tag. and that is where all your links should be. And let's just comment this out. Okay, so I know that this is the Bootstrap CDN. Right, so now when I save this and I go back to my portfolio page, I should see something which is a little similar to what we saw over here. Now, to make this, I'm going to be first explaining how Bootstrap works. Now let's go over the code first. Now you see all these inside the tags, we're assigning every tag a class. Now what this class is, well, for that explanation, I'll just comment this code out first. And let me make something with a class of class 1. Let's do that. And let's have an h1 which says hello over here. Now it should say hello. And the way I target this h1 is by simply, if I want to change the font size or maybe the font color or maybe just style this h1 in a whole, then I would do that through CSS. And how we're using CSS is using an external CSS file, which I've named styles.css here. So I could just say that target the h1 in our document and make the color maybe as yellow. And that should, oh, sorry, I haven't linked the style sheet yet. So you're just going to type in link, and inside the href, you can just mention your. It should turn to yellow. Now, what if I had two h1s and I wanted one to be black and one to be yellow? If I target the h1 as a whole, then every h1 will turn to yellow. But हमें वो नहीं चाहिए. What we need is कि हमें एक h1 black चाहिए, हमें एक h1 yellow चाहिए. तो it's as simple as assigning a class. A class is basically a name for the tag, जिससे हम differentiate कर सकते हैं between every element, even if the element is same. So I'll just delete it and I'll uncomment this nav code. तो यहाँ पे if you see a nav tag, then हम उसमें classes assign कर रहे हैं, and we're going to say that this class is a nav bar, this class is nav bar expand LG. And these are all classes that are predefined in this file, bootstrap.min.css. इस file में these classes के styling are already assigned. So what we do is we refresh the page. Sorry, I did not save it. तो अभी ये जो styling दिख रही है, it is done through Bootstrap. अब हम इसमें अपनी पसंद की styling लगा सकते हैं. We can modify this page as per our needs so that it looks something like what we have created here. Well, let's do that. Okay, first we actually don't need a search placeholder or something like that. So you see this form tag here. This was search, as you see here. We're just going to delete it. We don't need it. Nav link disabled, which says disabled, which is sort of like this. We can modify this page as per our needs. We're going to delete it so that it looks something like what we have created here. Drop down menu, we don't need. We're going to delete it. I'm actually going to delete the first home one as well. We actually don't need a search placeholder or something. And if I save it now, so you see this form tag here with something. This was search, as you see here. We're just going to delete it. And I'll just take this li, which stands for a list inside a unordered list that we're creating. And हम इसको duplicate कर देंगे. And we're just going to say that this is going to be our home page. This is probably going to be skills. This is going to be projects. This is going to be, let's say, resume. And this is going to be contact. Okay. Good. So when I say this, we should see this page, which looks like a nav bar. That is good, but it doesn't look anywhere near what this looks like. Okay. Now another class of Bootstrap now comes into play, which is known as a container. Now container automatically assigns some margin, or you could say some padding from both the sides, from the left and from the right of your web page. So what you see this white space here, it's actually because of a container class. So you don't need to write any extra CSS, you just apply a similar class. I'm actually gonna wrap this class around this navbar. I'm gonna say container. And then I'm going to define another class, let's say nav section. And I paste all my nav code in here. And when I do that and I press refresh, you can see padding will be from both the sides. Okay. And abhi this chota sa light pinkish background hai on the nav bar, we don't need it. क्योंकि हम background पूरे web page को assign करेंगे, तो we don't need the background. उसके लिए you see this BG light, that is the class that is assigned by Bootstrap, जो कि उसको एक छोटा सा light background देती है. We're just going to delete it. And then it's going to be completely plain white. Okay. So we're halfway there to our nav bar. Now the next thing we need to do is actually start with some styling. So let's start with some styling. I'm actually going to delete all this. Okay. First things first, let's actually change the font of our page. I don't like the font that the navbar currently uses. And the best way to do it is actually going to fonts.google.com, which provides free fonts. And there's a very good font that I always use on my websites, which is known as Poppins. I'll just select it and I'll select all these styles. I want all the font weights and everything. Also, guys, please interrupt me if I'm going too fast or too slow.
Yeah, actually.
I am.
Can you just go a little bit slow, because coding side by side is becoming hard. Like
okay, sure,
I haven't
sure.
even changed the navbar things right now.
Okay, so, no problems. No
and please do share any links that you are, attaching with the index.html. Please do share it on this comment also, so that I can copy paste it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'll continue and then I'll try and provide you all the code so that you guys are at pace with me. So abhi what we do is we actually have two options. One is to embed a font, copy the code into the head of your HTML. Either we can provide a link tag to this URL. तो वो लिंक टैग क्या करेगा, वो इस URL पे जाके जो भी फॉन्ट्स हमने सेलेक्ट किए हैं वो फेच कर लेगा. मैं दूसरी अप्रोच यूज करूंगा. I'm actually going to use it in the CSS. And I'm going to copy this code and let me also provide you on the chat box. Copy this code and you're going to paste it inside your styles at the very, very top. And as soon as we do that, nothing should change on our web page. If you see the font, that is totally the same. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to apply this font on the CSS. And it says that you need to do it via this command. I'm going to copy it and let's go there. And how the way CSS works is, right, you need to actually target the classes or the elements for them to actually follow what you write inside those targets. So there's something known as a star tag, and it actually targets every element on your page. So we want that everything on our page should have the same font family. So we just type in font family, and the font family that we need is Poppins, which comes inside the family of sans serif. As soon as we do that, we should see a change in our font. Oh yeah, guys, the session is also being live streamed on YouTube, so anyone who doesn't have the link can also join through YouTube. Okay, so moving on, let's actually assign some themes or some colors to our page. Now, I'm going to target the body. The body is where all the content of the page is, right? And I'm going to say that the background color of this body is going to be, I actually have a hash code for this, and it's going to be 333647, which constitutes to this dark slate grayish color. And that looks pretty good. And okay, let's leave it at that. And now I want to style the nav bar. Okay, तो अभी हम देखते हैं कि nav bar को हम target कैसे कर सकते हैं. तो the reason I specified a nav section here is, I'll type in something here. I'll type in nav section dot nav bar brand. अब इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? What does this mean? You're assigning two classes. Well, इसका मतलब ये हुआ, the way CSS is going to read this is, हम nav section में ढूंढेंगे another class which is of the name navbar brand, which is right here, which says navbar. And we actually, I'll just specify BVPIEEE here. You can specify, or you can actually remove it if you want. Right, so इसको मैं target करूँगा, and I want इसका font size जो है थोड़ा सा increase हो जाए. It should be around 22 pixels. So, okay. यहाँ पे change हमें दिख गया. So the CSS is working. अब हम आगे styling करते हैं. Now, I want to target every single of these links, right? यहाँ पे मुझे ये target करना है. I want to add some margin over them. क्योंकि I feel like अभी थोड़े से पास हैं, and if we see in our preview, then वो थोड़े दूर है. So what I'm going to do is, we see that inside nav section, we should have something as nav bar nav, उसके अंदर एक li element है, and I need to target every li element. So I just type in nav section dot nav bar nav li, and I'll just specify a margin of 0 pixels, 8 pixels. Now, what is this? Margin is a keyword which actually takes in 4 inputs. The 4 inputs, अगर वो नहीं देते हैं, तो it can also take a single input or 2 inputs. अगर हम 4 inputs देते हैं, तो let's say I type in 0, 0. तो what it'll read it as is, हम margin दे रहे हैं top से 0, right से 8, bottom से 0 and left से 0. If we just specify 2, it'll say that top bottom से 0 and right left से 8. So it'll actually space out those elements. And अगर हम सिर्फ 1 देते हैं, तो it'll say कि चारों साइड से एक ही margin provide करना है 0 pixels का. So that is how the margin is going to work. And हमने अभी 8 pixels दे दिया है for right and left, and when we refresh it, थोड़े से spaced out elements. So that looks pretty good. What I want is, actually in links के अंदर we have an A tag which contains the text that we've written, and I want this text to be white. Let's target this text. I'm actually going to copy this क्योंकि इस li के अंदर ही A है, and I would say that the color of these, I want it to be white. Let's actually do something like font size 15 pixels. Okay. Now what we see, font size change हुआ है, but color change नहीं हुआ, and there's a reason for this. You see all these classes assigned to this A tag, nav link. Now this class is being fetched from the Bootstrap file that we fetched from the CDN. And उस CDN में, क्योंकि we have defined it above our external style sheet, तो वो उस वाले के classes में जो भी data है पहले consider कर लेगा. And उसमें वो white defined नहीं है, it's actually black defined. तो हम एक simple सा command यहाँ लिखते हैं कि I want it to be important. कि अगर white है तो I want that white to be important, and as soon as we refresh, you should see something. Now these are actually white. Okay, cool. What else do I need? I need this BVPIEEE to be white as well. Okay. Let's see another approach that we can do instead of important. Bootstrap offers an extra class which you can assign, and that is known as text white. So where did I assign this class? In the A tag which contains the BVPIEEE text. I just say that class navbar brand ke saath we assign another class text white, and as soon as I save and I refresh, it's going to turn white. Okay, so we saw two approaches to make the navbar, and it's looking pretty okay. But what is this nice transitioning hover effect? Now let's see how we can achieve this.
Before that, can you share the code for CSS?
For the CSS?
Yeah.
For the whole CSS?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like we can write like I have written, but थोड़ा like आप भेज दोगे तो kind of like हो जाएगा.
Okay, no problems. This is the CSS. Till now. Okay, cool. Let's move on.
Yeah.
So the next thing we see here is this home wala jo link hai, it has some different color, and let's see hum usko assign kaise karenge. Well, let's tackle that. If I want to assign it through an external CSS file, then I'll have to target this li, and agar main ye li target karta hu to every li would change its color. I don't want that. Okay, fine. We see this nav link attached here so that ये दूसरी फाइल से CSS से fetch कर पाए, but यहाँ पे मैं CSS इसी line में attach कर रहा हूँ, so that is known as inline CSS. So I'll just say that color, and I'm going to assign this Peru color here. So refresh, and I want to save. Oh, of course, I need to assign important as well. Okay. Most of our navbar is done. The only thing left is the hover effect. Now let's get on with the hover effect that we see over here. तो अभी एक pretty नया concept पढ़ने वाले हैं, which is known as something known as before. Let's see what that is all about. So I want to target all these, right? These A tag. Either we can say A, but I'm going to use the class here, which is the nav link class. So I'm going to say that inside the nav section, inside the nav bar nav, inside the nav link. Inside the nav link, I want to target something known as before, which I do that by assigning 2:, and then writing before. Now, what does this before do? Let's see. I'm going to assign some content over here, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. And let's see what it did on our page. आप देख सकते हैं, for every li, हमने एक 1, 2, 3 उसके पहले attach कर दिया. You probably get to know before element करता क्या है. The before keyword, what does it do? जो भी element है उससे पहले जो भी content है वो attach कर दिया. Okay, तो अभी मैं content को blank कर देता हूँ. And let's add some styling. I want the width to be 0 pixels for now. I want the height to be 0 pixels for now. I want the background color to be white. I want the position to be absolute. Now, what does this position absolute mean? Well, there are different positions that we assign in CSS. One is an absolute position. The second one is a relative position. Then there are static, fixed, and sticky as well. So what do I mean by absolute position? Absolute positioning is कि जो भी element पे you have assigned absolute position which is right here, this A tag, वो क्या करेगा, it will align itself relative to its nearest ancestor. तो इसके ancestors क्या हुए, this li, this ul and this diff. And what is the nearest ancestor, this nav item. So its nav item, it will relatively attach itself. Okay, and a very good resource if you want to learn more about in detail, I would suggest you just type in what did I write? Yeah, position absolute in CSS. And the first link we see is WP rules, and this is probably the best resource if you want to study all these positions in detail. What do? They also provide an IDE, so you can try it yourself. Cool, so let's get on. Position absolute के बाद, I will just say bottom 12 pixels, and yeah, I'll leave it at that actually. So what did it do? Let me actually show you what it did. हमने अभी तक क्या अचीव किया है, हमने एक ऐसा छोटा सा लाइन बना लिया beneath every link, जो कि is similar to what we achieved when we hover over it. अब हम देखते हैं इसको एनिमेट कैसे करेंगे. फॉर एनिमेटिंग एक बहुत सिंपल सा तरीका है, एक बहुत सिंपल सा कीवर्ड है which we use is हमें इस nav link पे colon hover करना है, and we want to style when we're hovering over this nav link. तो हम उसका देख लेते हैं. The content should still remain nil. I'm actually going to reset it to 0. I want the width to be around 25 pixels. I want the height to be around 2 pixels. Now the background color is going to remain white, and the position is still going to be remaining absolute, and the bottom is going to be 12 pixels. Okay, so let's see what happened. If we hover over it, you could see that we are achieving what we wanted to achieve, but वो अभी snap हो रहा है. It's not a smooth transition. So for that, एक simple सा keyword है inside when we are assigning it for the before tag, which is say that transition is 0.5 seconds. So it'll actually animate your two states for 0.5 seconds. So when we go and refresh it, you're going to see a very good hover animation. Well, that is good, and we have completely covered the whole of the nav bar. So let's actually get on. And do you need me to provide the code in the chat?
No, like currently up समझ ही रहे हैं. That is better. Shivam bhaiya said कि like they will share the GitHub repository, na?
Yes, we would. Yes, we would. Cool. Okay, so let's move on. Now I'm actually going to comment this out. I'm going to say that this is the last section, and I'm going to collapse this. I'll remove the nav section. It's complete now. Okay, so let's move on with the home section. Okay. Home section को first of all, let's assign a class. Let's call it home section only. And इसके अंदर we do need a container because we need the padding that is being provided by the Bootstrap. अब यहाँ पे एक बार वेबसाइट देख लेते हैं. Now यहाँ पे अगर आप देखते हैं तो you can see that we have like 2 columns. एक में all the written text is there, and एक में the image is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign a row class, and inside these row class I'm going to assign 2 divs, which are going to act as 2 columns for our row class. And the way I define columns is not just writing columns. Actually, Bootstrap, क्योंकि वो mobile responsive भी है, it provides separate classes for every size screen. So I would say that call LG6. Another class would be call MD6. And another class would be call MS12. Now, what does this mean actually? इसको हम ऐसे समझते हैं. This is our web page, right? This is divided into 12 columns, the whole of our width of the web page. अब in the code, we want कि अगर large screen है, if the screen is large, then we just want to occupy 6 of those columns for one column. And if it's medium, occupy 6. And if the screen is small, then occupy all 12 of those columns. So what will happen is, if we insert something in the first column and the screen is large, it will actually cover only half of the page. So we're going to take this class and we'll also assign it on the second column. See in a second. I'll just give an apostrophe here. And then I would say that I am fixing, which you can replace with your own name. Okay, then I'll have speed